Excellent, excellent. We got one person here. Can you type? Apparently not. Maybe that's Brian. They left. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get started here. Because it's already 12 o'clock and whatnot. Basically, how's everything going? I hope you're doing all right. Let me know if you can, real quick, if you're tuning in later and just watching this video and you want to watch live at some point. Like Brian yesterday told me that he couldn't do any chats because he is on the mobile. And so I think Brian, if you go to the right corner of the YouTube thing on mobile and you can click and you can switch it to web or whatever. Yeah, mobile, and I think it's desktop. There we go. Switch it to desktop. You can get the conversation on your phone. Otherwise, yeah, you're just watching the video and you can't even see the comments, which I guess Natalie and Annie are both here. They're both saying hello. For those of you who are like Natalie and Annie, how's life going? Are you praying today? Is that happening? You're good. Excellent. Excellent. You didn't leave. Oh, you haven't left your house? Is that what you're saying? Looks like Brian is trying to join us. I don't know who the third person is. Again, maybe it's someone on mobile. Brielle. Nice. How's it going? We got the younger group here with us today. All right. So anyways, let's kind of get started here. I don't have a lot of fun stories today. I wish I did. My life has been also pretty boring. Maybe I haven't really been. I honestly have been binge watching a little Star Trek. That's how lame my my Netflix situation is right now. But so anyways, the last few days, the videos that we've been making and the time that we have together and chatting and whatnot, I've been focusing heavily on like God is our shepherd. God is big. God is huge. We need to trust Him and whatnot. So kind of along those lines, I'm not obviously going to never really go away from that because that is excellent. So sorry, I'm reading the chats and I'm trying not to. I'll try to not read those right now while I'm talking. So the devotional for today, I guess, is in line with those. I found a nugget, an amazing verse in Job that I thought was amazing. Job chapter 26, but we're not going to get there yet. We'll get there in a second. There's this old hymn called "Turn Your Eyes on Jesus," and let me read that. The lyric that I want for you real quick. It says, Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. So along those lines, I love that lyric. Obviously, when you look to Jesus, the things of this world will grow strangely dim. The things that we consider are important, the things that we are concerned with, will grow like we just kind of stop caring about it when we focus on God. When we focus on Jesus, our immediate problems, how big they might be or how small they might be, doesn't matter. They become very unimportant to us. And so the right now in our daily Devo time, that's kind of what I want to do, and it's kind of what Job does. Number one, in Hebrews chapter 12, I believe is the chapter. Let me pull up those verses quick. That song, "Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus," is kind of maybe pulling that thought from Hebrews chapter 12. And I'm just going to read for you verses 1 through 4. It says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarded its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. After all, you have not yet given your lives in your struggle against sin." So ultimately, the argument that the author of Hebrews is saying here is, number one, we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, believers, people of faith that had struggled with so many things, that had to go through a host of persecution and problems, and they endured. They were able to continue in their faith and walk in God and not get distracted by life's problems. We can do the same. If they can do it, we can do it. And ultimately, when we fix our eyes on Jesus, as he says, the author and perfecter of our faith, look at what he endured for us. He was perfect, and yet he endured all kinds of problems. We, looking to Jesus, can gain inspiration, gain confidence, gain courage to continue to live our lives. And as that song, the hymn says, when we focus on him, everything else kind of just goes strangely dim. Just everything else seems kind of bizarrely unimportant. Even in the world that we live in right now with the coronavirus, when we fix our eyes on him, on God, on Christ, then the problems that we're facing just kind of seem not that important. Again, in light of that, um, I found these verses in Job chapter 26, and starting in verse 5. I might read through it, stop a second, and look at the verse and just talk about it. But Job chapter 26. Again, if you have your Bibles, you should get those out right now. Verse 5 says, "The dead tremble, those who live beneath the waters. The underworld is naked in God's presence. The place of destruction is uncovered. God stretches the northern sky over empty space and hangs the earth on nothing." So those first couple of verses, let me just quickly tell you what Job's talking about there. When it says that the dead tremble, those who live beneath the waters, the underworld is naked in God's presence, meaning that God can see everything. There's nowhere that you can go that God can't see you, that God isn't part of that situation, including death. Specifically, he calls it the underworld, beneath the waters. Those, if people are dead and under the ocean, and sediment has been toppling on top of you for years and years and years, you would think you might be hidden from God. And the reality is, no, not even those people are hidden from God. And it's implied there that they even can feel God's presence. The place Then it says in verse 7, God stretches the northern sky over the empty space and hangs the earth on nothing. What he's talking about is look at the sky. Look at how amazing and huge the sky is. Now, if you go outside today, it's very cloudy. Although it appears that the clouds are getting a little less, it's becoming less cloudy. And in Victor, it's hard to do in a town because there's buildings and trees. But if you go drive on the interstate, one of the things that I noticed as I'm driving here to Victor is how flat and open everything is. So you can kind of see the sky from east to west or north to south, and just see how big the sky really is. And what he's saying is God stretches the northern sky over empty space. He just how vast the sky is. Job's just describing that's something God has done, that he has stretched the sky. And then he says that God hangs the earth on nothing. This was written like 4,000 years ago, long before uh, we sent space shuttles and satellites up into space to look back on the Earth and see that, yep, we're on nothing here. It's just a ball sitting in the middle of space. And yet Job somehow knows that God sustains the Earth on nothing. Pretty amazing that he 4,000 years ago, this Job guy, knew this. Um, Proven to the Bible, it does obviously, and science do coincide. They're not opposites. Um, Verse 8 says, "He wraps the rain in his thick clouds, and the clouds don't burst with the weight." Think about that. It rained last night. You look up in the sky, and all the rain clouds that are there, and there's like rivers and lakes full of water up in the sky, and yet it doesn't come pouring down. Or when it does, it's amazing when you look up in the sky and you think, where is all this water coming from? God is in control of that. God is in control of the weather. He has created the water cycle, the stuff that we take for granted because we go to earth science or whatever and we learn. God has made that. That didn't just happen out of nothing. God created that. It says he covers the face of the moon, shrouding it with his clouds. Covers the face of the moon, shrouding it with his clouds. Maybe talking about how, and doesn't matter what Job in a sense is talking about here, but like an eclipse. Like, can you just imagine the control that God has over the moon, the earth, the sun as it rotates, to the point where he can even make it so that the moon can't even be seen because of an eclipse or whatever. It's just amazing how he is able to control even the sun, the moon, the stars. He's in control of all of the universe. uh, Verse 11, the foundations of heaven tremble, they shudder at his rebuke. Verse 12, by his power the sea grew calm, by his skill he crushed the great monster. So, uh, by his power the sea grew calm. We see this in Jesus even, right? Not Job is speaking probably from a general perspective of saying how God, you see storms and then you see the storms calm, and that God is doing that. God is working. You can see that. But Jesus literally calms the storm when he rebukes it, and it just disappears. It dissipates because God is in control of even the storms that are. I mean, think about that. Hurricanes destroy cities. Uh, a typhoon, those giant waves that hit Japan or whatever, and lives are just. I mean, that amazing power. God says enough, or be still, and it goes away, and it is, and it's still. That's how powerful God is. Verse 14. These are just. Sorry. Verse 13. His spirit made the heavens beautiful, and his power pierced the gliding serpent. These are just the beginning of all that he does, merely a whisper of his power. Who then can comprehend the thunder of his power? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the gold nugget that I loved when I first read that verse in these set of verses. Job is setting up for us. God controls the day and the night. That he separates. That there is a rotation, that every day there's light and then there's darkness. He controls the moon. He controls the heavens. He controls the rain. There's water, lakes and rivers above us, and yet it doesn't fall. And then sometimes it does. He's in control of that. He suspends the earth on nothing in the universe. These are not small things. These are massive concepts that of how powerful God is. And yet, in verse 14, Job says one of the most amazing things. These are just the beginning of all that he does. Merely a whisper of his power. That's how that song, "Turn Your Eyes to Jesus and Everything Else kind of grows strangely dim." That's what I'm talking about. That's what that song is talking about, is that when you start to begin, and I encourage you, it's not raining today, go outside. Look at how amazing our planet is. Take a moment and just kind of experience God's creation. Look up into the sky. Drive around on the interstate and do what I just said. Look at how amazing and huge the sky is. God made that. God made the clouds. God made the moon. He create day and light, day and night, every all the time. It happens. God sustaining it, and that's just a whisper of how powerful God really is. And when we stop and we think about how great God really is, coronaviruses, other problems that we face, they do become very strangely dim. With that, if there's any prayer requests, if you guys want to share on the chat here, I will. We can see those, and like I said yesterday, that you can also put them on the Snapchat group that Brian has started. But ultimately, please, if you're looking for help, you need prayer, I'm here. I'll be here at church. I'll be in Victor probably for the next few hours. I'll be here at the church. You can call me, you can email me, text me, whatever. But I'll see you Monday, noon, right here on YouTube Live. Hopefully, we'll have a few more things, maybe a more comedy going or whatever. Maybe I can get somebody to come in and be a guest appearance on our little thing here. But anyways, with that, I want to encourage you again that God loves you. God is so big. God is so much bigger than our problems that we need to focus on Him, so that we can kind of get past, so that we can keep living. We don't need to live in fear, because God is pretty huge. And keep reading the book of Job. Keep reading through chapter 27, 28. I'll encourage you to do that today. If you're fasting and praying today, remember to pray. Again, it's just dieting if you don't pray. So I encourage you to pray. Anyways, we've already gone 17 minutes, so that's kind of long. So I will be praying for you this weekend, and I'll see you Monday.